We got a full car. We got bottles for this guy. Good morning. I'm Officer Mike Porzicki from the Prospect Heights Police Department. Pete, it's National Train Safety Week this week, so we're riding the trains, talking a little bit of train safety. Just going to take a few minutes of your morning, give you some advice about train safety and talk about some things that happen around the tracks. Please pass this information on to friends, relatives, and especially teenagers, especially teenage boys. I'm going to pick on them today. A lot of incidents happen around the train, and unfortunately, you know, if you're doing something at home and you lose your attention span for a few seconds, maybe you stub your toe or sprain your ankle. But if you lose your attention span around a train and something happens, we're talking about a serious injury or a fatality, and that's what we do not want. Currently, Illinois ranks third with the third highest number of train incident fatalities. So we're trying to stop that. Operation LifeSaver is about look, listen, and live. We want you to stay aware around the tracks, and hopefully we'll avoid any injuries or fatalities around the tracks. I've been a police officer for 32 years, and I've been on about 6 of these incidents, and I'm telling you right now, the train always wins. I've never seen anyone who stays in their vehicle or stays by their vehicle survive a train crash. The train tracks offer a lot of recreational opportunities. Unfortunately, it's probably one of the dumbest places to do those recreational activities. We always see people running, riding their bikes, doing things around railroad tracks. They're made out of metal, wood, and rock. So an injury is bound to happen. For some reason, teenage boys find the attraction of the train and train yards. Here's a young man who's obviously late for school or volunteer work, cutting through the trains. Even though the train is stopped, there's a lot of metal hanging off the trains. There's a lot of ways to get injured. Just a few years ago, we had a woman who got off on the train on this side. The parking lot was on that side. The train was stopped. She couldn't wait. She tried to climb underneath the train car to get to the parking lot. Her high heel got caught in the tracks, and she lost her leg. So just by not wanting to wait that extra minute or two for the train to leave, she ended up, losing a leg. Again, a lot of people like to run on the tracks, do things on the train tracks. Even if there's no train, the train tracks are dangerous. It's also federal land. You're not supposed to be on there. For some reason, young men, ladies, I'll pick on ladies later, but right now it's the young men. Young men like to throw things at moving trains. If you throw a bottle at a train going 55 miles an hour, it's going to come back at you probably faster. So we see this all the time. Unfortunately, young men like to put things on the tracks and then go off in the bushes and see what happens to it. Sure, the penny might get flattened by the train, but it also might shoot out of there like a bullet. We've actually had young men put things on the tracks, go hide 15, 20 feet away, and then get hit with the object that they put on the tracks. Because we're in an urban area, we deal quite often with multiple tracks. We have a multiple track right here. In this photo, one train is stopped, the other one's going 55 miles an hour. The speed limit for the trains in an urban area is 55 miles an hour. So if the one train is stopped, we just don't just walk around it or drive around it, because there might be a train on the other track coming. Freight trains have a 3-foot overhang, which means if you're standing right next to the track, even if the train doesn't hit you, you're going to get hit by one of the ladders, railings, straps. Yesterday, one of the conductors told me that one of the #1 injuries they have right now is that the freight trains with the wood on them and materials on them have strapping wrapped around the material. 55 miles an hour, they hit some bumps, one of those straps breaks. It's just a plastic strap, but it's hanging 5 or 6 feet off the train going 55 miles an hour. If that hits you in the head or neck, you're going to have a bad injury or possibly a fatality. Probably shouldn't have to say this, but don't drive around the gate. First of all, it's an easy ticket. All I got to do is see you drive around the gate, the down gate, and you're going to get a ticket, obviously. Second of all, there's a train coming, something's happening. If the gates are malfunctioning, we'll talk about that a little bit later, but if the gates are malfunctioning, call us. We'll get someone out there to direct you. Don't drive around the gates when they're down. Proximity to the tracks. Right by Union Station, if you're going all the way downtown, there's actually an intersection where the white stop line is only a few feet from the tracks. So, in our area up here, they usually put the stop line 15 feet back so you're not there, but in the city, they're closer to the tracks. Don't stop your car 5 feet past the white line because you might get hit by something coming off the train. Typically when there's a warning sign at the station or anywhere else, it's put there because something happened in the past. In this photo, there's a semi-tractor trailer stuck on the tracks being towed off because he couldn't make the grade. And there's a sign right there that shows a semi-tractor trailer stuck on the grade. So if they have a sign up that says don't walk here, or don't do this or do that, it's probably there because someone else already got injured for that same situation. So if there's a warning sign, please heed it. We have in the whole country, we have both passive and active warning signals. Active warning signals, that's what we're used to in an urban area. Bells, lights, whistles, and gates. In a more rural area, there's only going to be a sign. We're all familiar with the metal grates that are in this middle of the street where the railroad tracks go over. Those things get oil dripped on them, antifreeze dripped on them, then a little bit of rain, it becomes like an ice skating rink. So if you have a stick shift car, we advise you not to change gears right on top of the tracks. If you can avoid it, don't brake hard on those metal plates, and don't change lanes, because if you hit the brakes hard or switch gears, change lanes, those things are like ice skating rinks. A little bit of rain with that oil and antifreeze, and they get very slick. Again, most of the time, at every one, there's going to be passive signs. There might also be gates and whistles, but there will be passive signs. Those give you a lot of information. It also tells you the number of tracks. So when you're coming up on it, you'll know. What is the only street sign in the entire country that's perfectly round? Railroad crossing sign. So you're on a trip out in the country, maybe you haven't driven this road before, and let's just say, for example, your wife's yelling at you, so you're not really paying attention, and you look out the window and a sign just went by. And you look in your side view mirror and you didn't see the sign, but you see that it was perfectly round. Well, that means that railroad crossing is coming up. And out in the country, there's not going to be gates and whistles. It's going to be painted on the ground, and there's going to be a sign. That's all right. Have a great day, sir. There is this train is going 55 miles an hour, and that little white thing right there is a teenager in a white T-shirt running about 8 feet in front of the train. I was teaching yesterday, and when we got to Union Station, the conductor told me that, he said, "You remember where the horn went off near the Franklin station?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, 7 teenagers on their way to high school ran right in front of this train on the way to school yesterday. So it happens all day long. Once this week, we will ride the engine on the way back. It's the scariest ride. People cutting in front of the train with giving themselves no time, no safety zone to get across, crossing when the train's coming. All you have to do is slip, fall, sprain your ankle or something, and you're getting hit by a train. Again, I've been on several of these. The train never loses. You have insurance on your vehicle. We'll get you a new car. We can't get a new you. So if your car gets stuck on the tracks, or if someone in front of you gets stuck on the tracks, people freak out and they think they can fix whatever's wrong with the car. If there's a train coming and you're behind somebody and they're stuck on the tracks and they're trying to start their car, you need to get out of your car, down on that window, open the door, and get them out of there, okay? The train is not going to stop. For those of us that have lived near the city or in the city our whole lives, we're aware of the third rail. We have third rail trains downtown. That third rail has enough electricity going through it to take all of us out. So if you drop your notebook, your pen, your cell phone, or something down in the city down there, don't jump down there and go get it. If you get too close to that third rail, you're done. If you pour your bottle of water on that third rail, the electricity will come right up that stream and kill you. So we have those electric-powered trains downtown. We need to stay away from there. The approximate stopping distance. The approximate stopping distance for your car at 55 miles an hour when you slam on the brakes is about 600 or 200 feet, so about 2/3 of a football field. For a fully loaded freight train, it's 1 mile. So if your car is stuck on the tracks and you can see the headlight of the freight train, he's going to hit your car. He cannot stop the car. Can anyone tell me in this photo what the conductor does not have that you have in your car? Steering wheel. He can't swerve the train. He can't turn the train. He can't switch tracks. He's going to hit your car. If your car gets stuck on the tracks, you have a car in front of you and a car behind you and there's no place to go, train's coming, you're going to get hit. He cannot stop the train. There's a red lever there. He's going to pull that red lever down and he's going to hang on. The weight relationship between your car and a pop can and a fully loaded freight train in your car are the same. How many of us have driven to work or driven to the store, run over an empty pop can and just kept going to the store? You don't even think about it. That's the same weight ratio as a fully loaded freight train. So again, the train is going to win. Here we have some more examples of people doing things around the tracks. I especially like the woman who has a baby strapped to her chest and a baby in the stroller. There might not be a train coming for 6 hours, but all she has to do is catch that stroller wheel on the tracks and dump it over, and her child is going to hit their head on metal, wood, and rock. So we just want people to be safe around train. Actually, a majority of train incidents happen where there's no train even near. People get hurt on the tracks all day long. All right, with the exception of policemen and firemen, we're all wired to run away from danger. Only policemen and firemen run into burning buildings and into areas where shots are being fired. Everyone else runs away. But if your car or someone else's car is stuck on the tracks and is going to get hit, we actually need to exit the vehicle and run towards the train, which doesn't make sense to our brains. We want to run away, but we want to run at a 45-degree angle towards the train. If you run the same direction as the train is going, you're going to get hit in the back of the head with a bumper, a door, a tire, or a car. The debris field is going to be down from the accident, so you want to run towards the direction of the train at a 45-degree angle. We all get frustrated when the gates are down, stuck down, and there's no train. If you're in the area close by walking, or you can see it, there is a silver control box at every one with a blue placard on it. That placard has a number on it, which is the identifying number for that control box. If you call that number, you're actually calling the maintainer directly, and a lot of times with a computer these days, they can just go ahead, type it in, and reset the problem and get the gates to fix. If you can't see this placard, call 911. This is actually a problem we have, is that the gates will be stuck down for 10, 15 minutes, and guess what everyone thinks? Oh, someone else called already. I don't want to bother the police, someone already called. Sometimes we go 10 minutes and no one calls because everyone thinks that someone called. I'd rather that the police department get 10 calls than no calls. The sooner you call us, we'll let them know what intersection is, we'll call the maintainers, the sooner we get the problem corrected. It's frustrating for all of us. I have to go out there and direct traffic, you have to get stuck in traffic, so the sooner we get the problem fixed, the sooner we get traffic moving again. We've all seen freight trains have about a 3 or 4 foot gap between the cars. When they're going 55 miles an hour, those little gaps in there create a little vortex. If you'll see someone standing too close to the tracks, you'll actually see their upper body move like this. Every time that little gap goes by, they get sucked in by that air. So, ladies, I'm going to pick on you this time because the young lady here is standing about 3 feet from the train, and all it takes is for her to lose her balance when that vortex goes by, and she's going to get hit by a railing or something hanging off the train. So please have our teenagers stand further back from the train. Again, young man late for something, climbing under the train like that woman did a couple of years ago. We want to keep our young men away from the train tracks. That's it. All right. Can anyone tell me how long it takes a fully loaded freight train to stop? All right, we got the gentleman in the green shirt there. All right, do we have anybody who's been on a Metro Rider for 25 years or more? 20? Here's our 20 right here. Anybody's birthday today? By show of hands, how many people on this car are happily married? All right, first of all, there's a little bit of hesitation there on some of you. You don't get a bottle for that. Second of all, 15 years ago, the first time I did this as an icebreaker, I asked that question, and a woman on this side of the train started laughing really hard. So I had to ask her, I said, "Why are you laughing?" And she said, "Well, I'm sitting right next to my husband, and he raised his hand and I didn't." So I told her, you know what, I don't think a water bottle is going to help you out, but that's the way it goes. Hey, thanks for listening to me.